A summer's night in Provence. On the night of the 4th of August 1952, in the quiet French countryside of Luz, Provence, a horrific crime unfolded that would grip the nation and leave it divided for decades. The Dominici family lived on a farm near the Durance River. The patriarch, Gaston Dominici, was 75 years old, an illiterate but proud man who ruled his family with an iron hand. His wife, Marie, and his adult sons, Gustave and Clovis, worked the land, living modestly but contentedly. That summer evening, a British family travelling through France stopped near the Dominici farm to camp for the night. Their names were Sir Jack Drummond, a 61-year-old British scientist and nutritionist, his wife, Anne, 45, and their young daughter, Elizabeth, just 10 years old. The Drummonds parked their Hillman estate car by the roadside, a short distance from the farmhouse, and set up camp. The night should have passed uneventfully. Instead, by dawn, all three of them were dead. The discovery. At around 7 a.m. on August the 5th, the shocking discovery was made. Sir Jack Drummond was found near the car, shot once through the chest. His wife Anne lay nearby, shot in the head and brutally beaten. Their young daughter Elizabeth was found further away, in a nearby ditch. She had not been shot, but had been savagely struck multiple times with the butt of a rifle. The scene was horrific, a family slaughtered in the French countryside for no apparent reason. Word spread quickly, and soon the area was crawling with officers, reporters, and curious locals. Early suspicions. At first, the motive seemed elusive. Robbery was ruled out. The Drummonds' belongings were left untouched, including money and jewelry. There was no sign of sexual assault. Instead, attention turned to the nearby Dominici farm. The Dominici family had been among the first at the crime scene. They seemed oddly evasive when questioned, and crucially, the murder weapon, an American-made MAS-36 rifle, was identified as belonging to the Dominici household. The investigation narrows. Suspicion quickly fell on Gaston Dominici. Witness statements described tensions between him and his family. There were rumours of arguments over inheritance, disputes with neighbours, and a violent temper. Investigators theorized that perhaps Gaston had confronted the Drummonds that night and a quarrel had escalated into murder. But nothing was simple. Gaston was illiterate and nearly deaf. His son, Gustave, gave conflicting testimony. At times, Gustave claimed that he had seen the crime happen, but changed details repeatedly. Clovis, the other son, also implicated Gaston, but later recanted. It seemed as though the Dominici family members were accusing each other, protecting each other, or both, a tangled web of half-truths and contradictions. Gaston's confession. Under intense pressure from investigators, Gaston eventually confessed to the murders. He claimed that he had shot Jack and Anne Drummond and then killed little Elizabeth to silence her screams. The confession shocked France. How could a 75-year-old farmer commit such a brutal crime against a defenseless family? And why? But almost as soon as he confessed, Gaston retracted his statement. He said that he had been coerced, that he hadn't understood the questions, that he was covering for someone else. His sons gave statements suggesting his guilt, but their stories constantly shifted. The trial of Gaston Dominici. In 1954, Gaston Dominici stood trial for the murders. The trial was a spectacle. The courtroom in Digne-les-Bains was packed with journalists from around the world. Gaston, small, stooped, and nearly incomprehensible in his thick Provençal dialect, seemed an unlikely killer. Yet the evidence against him, the rifle, his contradictory statements, his son's testimonies, convinced the jury. He was convicted and sentenced to death by guillotine. The sentence shocked many in France. Was justice truly served, or had an old, confused man been made a scapegoat for an unsolved mystery? The aftermath and doubts. In 1957, Gaston's death sentence was commuted to life in prison by President René Coty. He served only a few years before being released on humanitarian grounds in 1960 due to his age and declining health. He died in 1965, still proclaiming his innocence.
Another ice bath.
To this day, debate rages over what really happened that night. Some believe Gaston killed the Drummonds in a fit of rage, perhaps sparked by a drunken quarrel. Others think his sons, Gustave or Clovis, were the real killers, with Gaston taking the blame to protect them. Still, others propose entirely different theories, that the Drummonds were targeted because of Sir Jack's political or scientific work, or that the murders were linked to espionage in the early Cold War era. A national obsession. The Dominici Affair became one of the most famous murder cases in French history. Books, films, and documentaries have all revisited the crime, each offering new theories, but the truth remains buried in contradictions. However, what is clear is that an innocent British family, travelling on holiday, was brutally slaughtered, and the man convicted of the crime may not have been guilty at all. The case still lingers in the French psyche, not only because of its brutality, but also because it exposed deep divides between rural France and the modernizing state, between classes, and between truth and rumour. In the end, the Dominici Affair remains unsolved in spirit, if not in law.